In this video, I explain how Facebook ads targeting actually works and why you should stop targeting different interests for your audiences. So you may have been hearing more and more Facebook ads experts talking about moving away from interest audiences and starting to do more broad audience targeting in their accounts. Now, I'm going to explain both of those terms later in the video, but in order to effectively do that, you need to first understand how exactly does Facebook ads targeting work. And it's probably not what you expect. So if we look at things from Meta's perspective, obviously Meta being the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, their ultimate business goal is to keep people on their platforms and obviously have those people returning time and time again. And in order to do that, they're going to show people good content to give them a good user experience. So that's going to be relevant content from people their users follow or like. It's going to be relevant new content that might relate to topics they're interested in or they would find entertaining from the data that the platforms have. Or it could even be relating to ads, because after all, people in a consumer-centric world, the world we're living in, people use platforms for shopping, and shopping is something we get value from. If these platforms have helped us in our buying journey to find stuff we want to buy, either directly because we've seen an ad for it, we've gone and purchased it, or indirectly because it's influenced the buyer journey and maybe we buy something offline or months down the line, that has given us value. Okay, so we've taken value from that experience. We would keep coming back to the platform for that aspect. But if we were always seeing ads that weren't relevant to us, weren't engaging, or in fact were connected to scams or just poor quality products and services, we would quite quickly get fed up with the platforms and stop using them, which would go against Meta's ultimate business objective of keeping their users having a good experience and staying on the platform. So in order to police the ads that are on the platform, Meta have a very sophisticated algorithm in place that's going to pair relevant people with relevant ads from trusted advertisers, which Meta determine based on two main things: the audience targeting selected by an advertiser and the results of the ad auction. So the first step, the advertiser would go into Ads Manager and they would select the audience targeting limitations, which I'm going to show you in Ads Manager very soon just to demonstrate it. And then the second step, where Meta would basically take all the ads from all the advertisers using that same audience and put them through an auction to determine their user value, so their total value. And this is the equation that Meta use in that auction to determine the total value of each advertiser ad. So you have advertiser bid times estimated action rate plus ad quality. Advertiser bid is obviously the bid we're using in the auction, which generally is going to be automated, so we're not actually controlling that. You have the estimated action rate, which is Meta's AI determining how well it thinks your ad is going to perform before it has run to achieve your business objective. Okay, so that would be whatever campaign objective you chose. Was it sales? Was it traffic? Was it engagement? Was it generating leads? How well does Meta think you're going to do in achieving that goal with the current ad you're using? And then finally, the ad quality. And that's a mixture of different things relating to how the users have actually engaged with your ad. Have they visited your website and performed an action? Have they hidden the ad? Have they interacted with it in any way? As well as Meta determining how they feel your ad quality is. Is the creative good quality? Is it the kind of formats they want? Have you used sensational language? Have you used clickbait titles that would lower the quality of the ad? Okay, so a mixture of different things that go into that. And Meta uses machine learning to inform those last steps. So estimated action rate and ad quality. And that's why over time, you might see your ad getting better or worse in performance or becoming more expensive or cheaper in its CPMs. Because as that machine gets more and more data over time, it starts to learn how people respond and who your customer is. And it can have a better prediction basically of those two steps. So we're now going to jump onto Ads Manager and we can actually look at the targeting so I can explain broad and interest targeting exactly to you. So we're on Ads Manager and I'm inside the audience section of the ad set, and I'm going to show you the difference between broad audience targeting and what people refer to as interest audience targeting. So if we were setting up a broad audience, what we would be doing is we wouldn't be changing anything apart from the location, the age, and the gender, if we were even going to change them at all. A broad audience could just be leaving them as the defaults, or it could be, changing the age to maybe a lower age or higher age, whatever, and changing the gender. Are we going to choose all? Are we going to choose men? Are we going to choose women specifically? That is essentially a broad audience. You wouldn't want to put anything inside this detailed targeting section because that means it's no longer a broad audience. So what then is interest targeting? Well, what people refer to interest targeting is actually this detailed targeting section, which isn't just interests, it's demographics, interests, or behaviors, but everyone refers to it as interests. I think it may have been called interest targeting previously, and that's why, but I can't really remember. But anyway, I could still select the different location, age, and gender constraints, and then input some detailed targeting options that will come up from suggestions. So let's just do tennis as an example. So if I select table tennis, that is now an interest that we're now doing interest targeting audiences there. Okay, so you can now see my pool of available people is between 26 million and 30 million. Previously, it was up to 164 and 193 million. So we've narrowed it down massively because we've given it a filter. We've added a constraint to it, okay? But one thing I want to bring your attention to, so this is different on different accounts. Look at this thing here. We may deliver ads beyond your audiences for your selected objective if it's likely to improve performance. So I've selected an interest, but what this is basically saying is Facebook Meta, if it's going to improve my results, they'll go broad anyway, okay? So this is different in some, so they had this toggled off. They had a button where you could toggle this on and off. Then they made it all default. I have an account where I still have the button to toggle it on and off, but you can see this one, they're automatically telling me that if they want, they're going to go past this table tennis interest and target people broad anyway. So you may as well just go broad, in my opinion, okay? But that's the differences between broad and interest targeting in a nutshell. So why go broad? Well, let's come back to the two-step process we mentioned earlier on how Meta pairs ads with its users. Advertiser selects audience, and then Meta gathers all the ads together and puts them through an auction. That means choosing an audience isn't actually targeting people. It's merely grouping them together. And the actual targeting, picking out an individual from that group, happens in the second step where you go into the audience, into the auction. And this is fine for location, gender, and age, because we know exactly who the people are in those audiences. And they're not really changing day to day. Your age is your age, your gender is your gender, and your location is your location. Sure, some people, they're going to be changing, but the overall audience is not really changing day to day. But if you have interest audiences, we don't really know what those are made up of. Someone has shown an interest in something, but what does that really mean? So if I like tennis, or I've shown an interest in tennis, does that mean I like tennis? Does that mean I like tennis products? Does that mean I'm going to some tennis event? Does it mean I don't like tennis, but I'm just talking about it? Am I talking to my friends about tennis? There could be so many things inside that. And not just that, from today to tomorrow, I could fall out of that audience. So by going broad and only selecting the gender, age, and location, we're not limiting the algorithm on who it can target. You're giving the full pool of people on these platforms. But more importantly, we're feeding the machine learning with far more data that isn't changing on a day-to-day basis. So it's way more stable. And you're really tapping into the full benefit of machine learning by doing that. Because over time, the machine's going to learn and it's going to know exactly who to show your ads to from that full audience pool because it's not changing. So just to finish off, I want to list out the benefits of using broad audiences. just so you have them in one place and you can ponder on it after finishing the video. So the first benefit is that the CPMs of broad audiences are going to be lower. This is because you're targeting a bigger pool of people, or you're able to target from within a bigger pool of people, which means there's less competition, so lower cost, okay? The second reason is they're more stable. As we mentioned earlier, interests, detailed targeting demographics are going to be changing day to day, which one's going to make them less stable because might have a good pool that then drops out of that audience, but also you might have another competitor come into that audience, be doing much better than you, and your performance drops, okay? That's a much smaller pool of people, so there's a higher risk of someone new coming into that audience. So that's why it's going to be less stable. You're then also going to have less scalability with detailed targeting, more scalability with broad targeting, because quite simply, it's a bigger audience. So there's more opportunity to scale. There's infinite opportunity to scale, really. You can scale as much as money as you have and as big as the platform is. And one of the big ones right now is you're avoiding the risk of Meta just simply deleting the interest you've been basing your whole campaign on. If they delete an interest group, they just decide to remove it, which they did a lot of last year, and they've just started doing again this year. Your campaign dies, you've lost all the learnings, and what you're going to do, you know? And then finally, you get better creative learnings by doing your creative testing on broad audiences, because the learnings you're getting are going to be applicable to the broad spectrum rather than certain audience segments. You might have some creatives that you find working for one audience segment, but then they're not transferable to another one, okay? But by going broad, you get those learnings and end up finding the best creatives that work for everything. So that's the video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. And as always, I will see you in another one very soon.